Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking out Really Dicey. This is Manny. I'm here with Vander. And today we're going to talk about Gothic Lineages that's come out for Honor of Arcana in their D&D website. These are experimental new lineages, or they'll turn races to play test new characters for your D&D campaign. And I say sort of race because it looks like D&D is looking to do away with them. It looks like they're what was considered an option before in Tasha's is looks like it's becoming the rule, and at least in play testing purposes. So with lineages, it's pretty much an expansion which we saw in Tasha.
I will say when they talk about creating your character, they did away with things that are, as any of you who have probably listened to us with the Lineage and Culture book that we absolutely loved, they separated things that are, basic body type stuff that you would get from your racial lineage. And then culture-based stuff. They're not saying culture because I'm pretty sure they would have had to pay the people who they're probably kind of ripping this idea from. For ability score increases, you get a +2 to 1 and the +1 to something else. Languages, you get common plus other appropriate languages depending on what you and your GM agree upon. And you can now change your creature type, which I don't know if that's ever been a thing before, but instead of just being a humanoid, you now have the option to classify yourself as other things, including what we see in the Gothic lineage, which will be construct and undead. And I guess, I mean, DM's approval, otherwise, whatever the hell else you want. But that's really it from that stuff. But then we have the Dampire and the Hexblood and the Reborn as our new Gothic lineages.
Yes, and the Dampire isn't new. The Dampires have been around since 2E. It's not overpowered, at least in my opinion. It's good that we have options now. So if you want to play something like Blade, or you want to play something like a la carte from the Castlevania series, you can do so. What's cool is that you don't have to use blood, sucking blood as the main source for your hunger issues for your character. They actually have more options where it could be like flesh, it could be dreams, it could be life energy, it could be psychic energy. I thought that was a cool option to have, so that your character could be more flavorful.
You didn't say the best one. A color from one's appearance. You could make someone a grayscale version of themselves by just draining their body.
Yes,
I love it.
Oh, and they're being very careful that Dampire could be anyone. It could be a dwarf, elf, human, a dragonborn. That I think previously Dampires would tend to be shown as like humans. The origins also, it could be a variety of reasons of how you became a Dampire.
Yeah, we don't have to read all of them, but there are some pretty interesting ones. One of them that I liked was that your pact with a predatory deity, fiend, fae, or spirit causes you to share their hunger. So, like, even if you may not be a warlock, but if you're a warlock, it could be even more interesting. You could still have a pact with a force of nature or a force of some sort, and have to deal with the repercussions of that at some point. So, more roleplay stuff for your DM to have fun with.
So traits, you get dark vision, you get spider climb, but at 3rd level you can move up and down across vertical surfaces and upside down along ceilings while leaving your hands free. And of course vampire bite, which you can use that as an attack, which is very interesting. You could regain hit points from the damage dealt from the bite to other creatures, obviously, and you can gain a bonus to the next ability check or attack roll you make. So that's pretty cool. And that's pretty much it for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, it's still pretty good. Like you said, like, I think that the vampiric bite ability is cool, but it's not like overpowered. It is just very useful in a very specific situation, and it has all the classic features of like spider climb capability. Your speed is 35 instead of like the average 30, so you're just a little bit quicker. All stuff that makes sense. I wish they like, not permanent, but maybe like a temporary, like in super bright scenarios, you had like maybe disadvantage on your first attack or something, just to like give a negative. I would love it more if they had like a negative for each lineage, just because I think that makes things more interesting. But that could be self-imposed by a DM or something and still be pretty awesome.
That would be interesting to see some sort of rule where, like, what if you're not you don't want to partake in your hunger. What happened? What would be the negatives? There's no negatives that, as far as I see, what happens if you um, don't partake in your hunger. Doesn't really say unless I missed it.
No, I mean you could probably use one of the origins and make something up. Like again, if you have a deity that's like, hey, eat, and you don't, and they'd be like, okay, well, no more blank for you.
All right. So Hexblood. The idea of this is that you somehow are mixed in with hags in some way, and now you have a potential of being one, but you don't have to follow or become one. Um, it's interesting. So the most unique thing about them, the living crown coming out of their head, it could look very spiky or whatever. That's cool. I like the look of that. Again, like the Dampire, you have different selections for origin. Doesn't have to be. It could be any variation of how that came to be. Before I get into traits, what do you think?
Um, I like it. It's so we had the Simic hybrid, which was Ravnica, I believe, which was basically it felt like scientific forced transformation or mutations, where Hexblood feels like the magical version of that, which I like, where it's like you like it's not as varied as the Simic hybrid was, where you like can choose a couple of different abilities, but it still has that just that feeling of being an experiment. A show or a podcast I listen to called Not Another D&D Podcast has some people called Hexbloods, which in similar fashion are people that were mutated and experimented on. And I just really love this idea. And yeah, we can get into the traits, which, as we said before, aren't crazy. The type versatility, you can be humanoid and fey. Same thing with Dampir, you could be undead and humanoid. You have dark vision, which makes sense. Fey resilience, because you are fey, which makes sense.
Yes.
You have hex magic, which is disguise self, and hex you learn as your traits. The interesting part is they actually let you choose intelligence, wisdom, or charisma as your spellcasting ability modifier, which I wish they would have done more often, because it makes sense that you kind of choose the way you develop it. But there. Do you want to talk about the magic token?
You use a nail, a tooth, or a lock of hair, and if you give it to someone that you're able to communicate telepathically, small amount of words though, to the person that holds it, or you can just do this meditation thing where you're speaking to the person and seeing and speaking to the person with the token. You just have to be careful that you're in a safe place, because you won't be aware of your surroundings. Of course, that goes away when you do that, the token, and you have to get a new one. And if you're Hexblood, it takes, I think you need a long rest before you can make another one.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Again, it creates some interesting scenarios for role playing.
And then our last one is the Reborn, the Reborn. It's hard to describe this one exactly, because we've had the revived rogue Unearthed Arcana, and then Critical Role had a race similar to this as well, or a lineage, I guess, depending on the terminology. But the Reborn is basically you are a reborn creature. You have died before, you have come back. Memories are missing, thoughts are missing, skills come and go related to whatever those past lives were, which is great and cool. But it leaves a lot of room for error for the character itself, which is fun. The lost memories, a couple of the options, just to give a quick one, is you recall a physically painful moment. What mark or scar on your body does it relate to? You recall a childhood memory. What about that event or who you were with still influences you? Just small little things where you could just have all these really loose threads coming together, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a mix of a zombie and a Frankenstein creature without the overpoweredness of either. It's not a flesh golem either. It's again, they try to mix it up with different origins, different types of lost memories. You may learn something from your past randomly, which is that helps you with an ability check or skills, which is pretty cool. And as again, it's not set for any type of humanoid. Any humanoid, dwarf, elf, human, and so forth can be a reborn. But they get dark vision. They have a deathless nature, which gives them resistance to poison damage, disease, advantage to saving throws, death saving throws. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. You don't need to sleep. Magic can put you to sleep, and you can finish a long rest in 4 hours, as long as you stay motionless, instead of doing the whole 8, as I guess a living humanoid would do.
Has to, yeah. And also, as your humanoid type, you can, as your monster type, you can be humanoid as well as being either construct or undead, depending on how you choose your origin or lineage. And with the deathless nature stuff, that is like not very overpowered in like a lot of games if like you do combat and you're there for the role play. But if you're in a DM situation where like they track your encumbrance or they track how much food you eat and stuff, that actually can be pretty powerful, because you're saving money, you're saving time, you're saving resources in a lot of ways, which is pretty nice. Also, 4 hours to sleep is just awesome in general in D&D.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. One of the one of the benefits of being an elf.
Yes. Or now a reborn.
Yeah. So overall, this seems fine. I'm more excited for it for the potential role playing possibilities out of them. That's how I see it more. Like this is a good options for storytelling.
Yeah, definitely more of there are unique powers which make it really great, but it's the origins and the background and the growth, with dealing with these lineages is definitely the more interesting part of these, where other times it's like, oh, it's more the abilities, but this time it really is the potential backstory that can come from it.
Mm. So viewers, what did you like about them? Let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. You know the drill. And be safe out there. Have a good
See ya.
day.